Here's a polished YouTube voiceover script based on your article. It is written in a natural documentary style with a dramatic but balanced tone. Title: Mao Zedong's Secret Mission to Moscow, the Alliance That Changed History. In December 1949, just months after proclaiming the People's Republic of China, Chairman Mao Zedong embarked on a 10-day train journey to Moscow. His mission was clear: secure Soviet financial support, military assistance, and most importantly, a new alliance with the Soviet Union. When Joseph Stalin asked Mao what he wanted from the visit, Mao gave a memorable reply: something that not only looks nice, but also tastes delicious. Behind those simple words lay one of the most important diplomatic missions of the Cold War. Mao arrived in Moscow on December 16, 1949, and received a formal welcome before meeting Stalin later that evening. While the ceremony celebrated China's communist revolution, the real challenge was still ahead. Mao wanted to replace the 1945 Treaty of Friendship and Alliance, an agreement Stalin had signed with Chiang Kai-shek's nationalist government before the communist victory. To Mao, the old treaty no longer reflected the new political reality. Stalin, however, was reluctant. He argued that changing the treaty too quickly might encourage Britain and the United States to reopen sensitive territorial questions linked to the post-World War II Yalta agreements. Instead, he suggested keeping the existing treaty while making practical adjustments behind the scenes. For Mao, this was far from the outcome he had hoped for. The negotiations soon reached a standstill. Although Mao attended celebrations marking Stalin's 70th birthday, he privately expressed frustration, saying he had not traveled all the way to Moscow simply to attend a ceremony. Despite later stories suggesting Stalin ignored Mao completely, historical records show that Mao was welcomed and met Stalin immediately after arriving. The real problem was not the lack of meetings, it was the lack of trust. Both leaders were cautious. Stalin expected Mao to state his demands openly. Mao waited to see how much Stalin was truly willing to offer. The breakthrough finally came after Chinese Ambassador Wang Jiaxiang made it clear that Beijing wanted the old 1945 treaty abolished. On January 2, 1950, Mao publicly declared that the main purpose of his visit was to negotiate a new treaty, secure Soviet loans, and strengthen trade relations. That same evening, senior Soviet leaders Vyacheslav Molotov and Anastas Mikoyan met Mao with authority to move negotiations forward. Mao proposed 3 possible solutions, making it clear that his preferred choice was a completely new alliance. Soon afterward, Premier Zhou Enlai arrived in Moscow to join the talks. Formal negotiations then began, covering mutual defense, Soviet military rights in Manchuria, the future of Port Arthur, trade, and financial assistance. The discussions continued for more than 3 weeks. Finally, on February 14, 1950, the Treaty of Friendship, Alliance, and Mutual Assistance was signed. The agreement committed both countries to a 30-year alliance. The Soviet Union extended China a credit worth $300 million over 5 years. It also agreed to return the Chinese Changchun Railway, Port Arthur, and Daren to full Chinese control over time. China, in return, reaffirmed its recognition of the Mongolian People's Republic. Mao left Moscow with the alliance he had traveled thousands of kilometers to secure, but only after weeks of difficult negotiations and political compromise. The treaty publicly presented 2 communist nations as equal partners. Behind closed doors, however, the negotiations revealed a different reality. The Soviet Union remained the senior power, carefully controlling the pace and terms of cooperation, while China's new revolutionary government worked patiently to gain recognition as an equal. This meeting between Mao Zedong and Joseph Stalin would become one of the defining diplomatic moments of the early Cold War, shaping relations between the world's 2 largest communist powers for years to come.